Let's talk about how to cope with criticism. Rule number 1, focus on you. So your dignity is what you have control over when criticism is coming your way. That's something that will be maintained through posture, you'll maintain it through language, and you'll express it through your face. And you've got to resist the desire to shake your head at what your partner is saying, doing those big eye rolls, even small eye rolls, to what they're saying, okay? You're allowed to be angry about what they're saying, but you can maintain dignity while that is coming your direction. In abusive relationships, we find that folks on the receiving end of being criticized or treated as less than, their postures crumple, right? And over time, too much of that can actually destroy their posture. It's always sad to see that in people, but it's not uncommon, and I do see it. I see it often. So, if your partner is unapologetic and aggressive and attacking you verbally or even physically, should go without saying, you don't need to stick around. So politely decline those kinds of interactions and remove yourself. Show them that you don't stick around for being treated like shit. That's important. So one of the big questions is in this, how do we cope with contempt or criticism rather in our relationships? We have to first kind of discuss and understand why it's so hurtful in the first place. Because we make ourselves vulnerable to our partners. That's why we get into relationships, right? We allow a certain amount of trust and we give a certain amount of trust with our partners to influence us. And so that allows for some great feedback loops. Sometimes our partners can signal to us improvements that we need to make in our behaviors. They can compliment us and encourage us. And so that feedback system, as it has trust and vulnerability, becomes really powerful. That's one of the reasons criticism is so damaging, because we start on a baseline of trust and vulnerability, hopefully. Not everybody, but a lot of us. So what happens when our partner has a bad day, right? We're unfortunately sometimes set up to internalize dangerous influence from our partners, even if they're good people. So if they've had a really bad day, they might throw out a 4 horsemen behavior. They might throw out criticism of your character, okay? And the question is, how do we cope with that? And one trick that I've found particularly useful as a therapist and a husband is to consider as often as I can, the broader context and the deeper context to why my partner is exhibiting criticism. Is my partner having a bad day? Has somebody hurt them? Have I hurt them? So it's possible that they didn't get a good night's sleep. All of that kind of factors into this broader consideration of our partner's behaviors. And it allows us a little bit of wiggle room to forgive them of these transgressions while simultaneously holding a boundary with our own dignity. So please, never take an attack from your partner. Don't take an attack from anyone and internalize it. You don't need to do that. So let's review some real life examples of criticism and where it can be met with our own dignity. When our partner offers us criticism, we don't want to take that in. Here's an example. Your wife comes in and says something like, "Ugh, you never step up around the house. Why are you so lazy?" Okay, shoulders back, back straight. There's something important in what your wife is saying. You do not need to take in the attack that has been made on your character. You've got to gather up some dignity to see what she needs more support on. You need more support around the house. You could say something like, "It seems like I could step up more," without countering, defending, or even internalizing that negative appraisal that you're lazy. See how you kind of sidestep that criticism, kind of allow it to go over here? You move in closer to the need that your partner might have. Here's another one. Your husband comes to you and he says, "You never talk about your feelings. I think it's because of the way your dad treated you while you were growing up." Okay, let's take in the broader context. Shoulders back, back straight. Assess the signal that your husband is trying to make without getting lost in some long, drawn-out armchair analysis of your childhood. The signal that your husband might be trying to make is around a craving for your emotional availability. Your emotional availability. You can organize that original grievance by asking in your own head, what might be missing for your husband in the relationship? Without taking the condescending stance, you might directly inquire about your husband's needs instead of delving into an unnecessary analysis of your own childhood. Okay? So these two examples have their limits, but they stand out as hallmark conversations where I see criticism as a therapist all the time. So while your partner works on trying to use an antidote to a horseman like criticism, you on the other side, instead of going, "I see criticism, ooh, naughty, naughty," you can actively frame that behavior that your partner is exhibiting into a larger, deeper, unmet need. When you notice like a horseman behavior coming out of your partner, just sidestep it, shoulders back, back straight. Sidestep the criticism and present a non-condescending warmth and dignity. Your own dignity. You're not internalizing the negative appraisal of yourself. Okay? You're capable of showing up for them and yourself when they are hurting. That's what you show them. When you do that and you don't internalize that criticism, that behavior will eventually become extinct. So in the Gottman method and emotion-focused therapy, both of these models, the therapist will provide that warm dignity as a service because a lot of folks just haven't seen it, or it hasn't been offered to them by like a parent or someone important in their life. So struggle to maintain your own dignity in arguments and conflict. And when you find that you can't do that on your own, take a recess from the interaction with your spouse. And if you find that you can't maintain that dignity because you're tempted to launch into counterpoints, counter criticisms, defensive language, or maybe you want to shut down, then maybe it's time to reach out to a certified Gottman therapist or a certified emotion-focused therapist.